How's it going, YouTube? Coming to you today with another video, and today, guys, what the bring to you is the deck vault. Now, I really do like making these types of videos because I test every single deck that comes out of the OCG, any brand new deck in the TCG. I spend weeks and weeks on end just making sure that I know where to hand trap these decks, seeing if they're going to be viable in the TCG, seeing if they're even worth making, because there's a lot of different decks out there, and I feel like a lot of them really go unnoticed because a lot of people are like, oh, they don't seem that good. Like, look at the Brave Engine, for example. When that got announced, everyone's just like, wow, that sucks. Like, it summons a token, cool. And then now look at it, right? Like, somebody used it, and then here we are. So that's what I'm always doing, just going ahead and theorying literally everything that comes out of the OCG or the TCG. So you don't have to. So in the deck vault today, we're going to be showing off about 10 or 12 meta decks and really going over all the things that have changed in the deck over time and how the decks are performing now. Are they worth playing? And then all the new tech cards and anything that was pulled out of the deck, more importantly, because there's a lot of decks right now that are really susceptible to mine. And we really got to fix that to make sure that it doesn't become a mine format again, right? So I really do hope that you enjoyed that video today, because I will be leaving all of the download links down in the description below, so you can actually just go ahead and download the deck and test it out for yourself. So also today we're going to be announcing the Ggygo striker mat that everyone's been so patient with, and I appreciate you for that. It's been a little bit to get this together, but it is now here. The mat is finally done and we have a design for you. Big shout outs to Midnight Dreams. She did a fantastic job. The mat is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm just so happy with the way that it came out. It will be on my sponsor's website, Imperium Duelist, tomorrow, Friday the 25th at 6 p.m. PST. So if you are wanting a mat, definitely be ready to go ahead and get one then. So I'm going to go ahead and show everyone the mat now, because I just can't wait to show you, and it's so gorgeous. Check it out. So this is actually the story of the linkage and like everything behind it, right? Because you see on linkage that Ray is holding Rose and Rose is knocked out. The reason for that is that Rose was inside of Zeke, could not control Zeke, and then Ray had to break her out. And so this is the story that's being portrayed here, and I think that it came out absolutely amazing. The fact that Rose just pops off the mat, the sun with the colors, and Ray, it looks so nice, and I just am so appreciative of Midnight Dreams for putting this one out here. This just looks amazing, and I really do hope that you enjoy the GG mat. If you want to support me as a content creator on Imperium, use code GGYGO10. I really will appreciate that, because it does go a long way. So thank you all so very much for your interest on that. Again, it's gonna be tomorrow, Friday the 25th at 6 p.m. PST on the Imperium Duelist website. That'll also be down in the description below. The dual player mat is going to be $60. The single player mat will be $40. So this is the dual player. I really like how this one turned out with the mirrored effect, and then you also have the crossing of the swords. Not only is it amazing because you have the original image right here, but on the other side you also have the flipped image. So whichever way you want to see Ray attacking Zeke, you have it. I think that it just came out beautifully. It just really is just such a nice work of art. There is going to be the availability of zones on these, so you can get it with or without zones, completely up to you. But I think that even with zones, it looks absolutely amazing too, and it doesn't take away from any of the art at all. This is just such a wonderful opportunity to have, and I really do hope that you enjoy it. Definitely let me know down in the comments below if you plan on picking one up, because I really just want to see everyone with it. You know, I think it's gonna be so cool going to an event and be like, oh, that's my mat. You know, I've never had one before, so that's really cool. I know I'm gonna be rocking it. I'll be playing Striker and rocking the mat, and people will know what I'm playing, and you know, we're still gonna get there with Striker. So amazing. Just thank you so much, Midnight. Moving on in, though, to the decks that we're going to talk about today. The first one is going to be Sword Soul Synchro. So Sword Soul Synchro is going to be the 40 card variant based. This is essentially what everyone's calling it now. It's not even Sword Soul anymore. It's just the 40 card variant. They're playing that Red Rose Dragon. The only problem I have with this is that a lot of people who are playing Sword Soul right now are cutting Circle and Droplet. That's huge, because cutting Circle alone makes you super susceptible to mine, because at that point you can't even tribute your monster off the board. And not even playing the Droplet is also pretty tough, honestly, against a lot of the decks right now. And the fact that tennies are so free in the graveyard, I don't really feel like that's super correct to do. But this is genuinely like what the deck is trying to accomplish now. Like, they're just going to summon that Red Rose with the Vishuda or the Ashuna on the field and get right into a Baron, and then go ahead and combo off there, because they have the Halcdon combo. And if anyone ever says Halcdon, if you're confused on what that is, it's Halqa Fibrax and Auroradon. Some people ask me a lot about like what that means, so that's what, if anyone ever says that, that's what that means. But I do like this because there's a lot of room for utility with Ash, Veiler, Ogre, and Imperm. I just really wish that we'd start seeing more droplets, more circles in the deck still, because it's still, like, Imperm is one of the biggest hand traps right now, right? And we still need an answer to that. So this is what the deck looks like right now. I think Sword Soul alone is like tier 2, but I think that like any kind of Synchro variant, push it up to like 1.5. I think the Based is definitely tier 1, right? It's like the second best deck. I think Dragon Link's the best right now. But this is what the deck looks like as of right now. Talking about base though, we have the 60 card base variant here. Again, all these are down in the description below if you want to go ahead and download them and check them out. So in this one, you have a lot of room for hand traps. You have Ash, Ogre, Bell, Veiler. You even have Droplet in here. You have a Nibiru. So it has a lot of room for utility, and then you also have the things like Small World to search your red rose to go into combo. And the thing with 60 cards is that if you don't open one engine, you open up another. So it just gives you a really big opportunity to just combo with whatever hand you see. And then you're playing so many utility cards. The only problem I have with 60 though is the fact that you don't see side cards as often, and that can really hurt you out in the long run because you just need to be able to see as many as you can, right? Especially in a bad matchup. I can't even imagine, and like if you can't see like a twin or something and you're playing against like skill drain the deck, right, and you don't open like your Draco back, or they pop your Draco back, like it's rough. So you want to make sure that you have a way to be able to play around certain decks, and sometimes that's just a trade-off that you have to take though, right? But base is pretty much just base right now. The end board is usually going to be like Arclight, Savage, Baron, and Arclight means that Droplet's bad against his deck. That's why like Dark Ruler in the side should always be a thing right now to be able to answer based, because it's just the best hand trap for them. I think that if you have the room, Dark Ruler or Geki should be in like every sideboard right now. I think that's so good right now. There's literally no back row decks in the format currently. Like maybe you can consider Striko the back row deck, but like it's really not. And like there's no Eldritch either because they're all afraid of Draco back. So like it's pretty nice. And the only Eldritch we see right now is like Cyberus Eldritch. So like pick your battles. I also really like Token Collector at 3 right now. I think that it just is an auto win against a lot of decks right now, especially the Sword Soul deck with the Halcyon combo. But based is based, you know, it's been around for a couple weeks now. That still hasn't really changed too much, but it's still like the 60 card Baron Auroradon combo. Plunder, my list hasn't changed much since the last tournament that I went to. It's still going to be on the one twin in the main. I still think it's really nice to have that for the Pandemonium or like the Dreaming Town. It also triggers the Whitebeard. I really want to cut the Nibiru, but it has nice application in the deck since you give your opponent a light, so you at least have something to summon against like the Earth and the Wind decks, right? And you can go into like your list. That's another reason why I would consider siding emblems. So if you play against like Earth Machine or Flunder, at least you have things to like target your opponent with and like make a new monster, so you're not like relying off of seeing an attribute off like a hand trap, right? So I think that's really nice as well. A lot of room for utility in here, and I feel like the deck is just really overperforming in a lot of areas right now. We see it topping a lot of regionals and even YCSs. So it's something that's definitely one card away from being like insane, but it's still really good right now for what it is, right? Moving forward off of this though, Brave VW, I feel like VW fell off the face of the earth. It's just really not relevant right now. It's a pretty okay deck, but let's be real, the deck's always had a big problem with bricking. It's something that it's really done, and it's just, there's so many different options to play in the game right now that like, why would you play this when it just is gonna break super hard? There's like, you can play like the base deck, Sword Soul, there's Striker, you could play like PK, it also has like same breaking issues, but like it's still fine. You can play the other PK being Prank Kid. There's just a lot of better options in this right now. This is like a current build of it, but I still feel like it has room to grow. Especially if you're playing like the Punk stuff. The Punk VW deck is really cool, but just playing like the straight pure with like Brave, I don't really feel like it's the wave anymore. Dragon Link though, Dragon Link's the best deck in the format. Like that's 110% my opinion. I love Dragon Link. I think that the pure variant's better than the adventure variant. I think that in 40 cards you play so many different hand traps, the Ash, the Ogre, the Gamma, the Veiler, and you can search them by milling 5, and then you can also mill 4. If your opponents are also on like Lancia, right, because it hurts them too, but they're trying to use it against you, and then you can summon their Lancia with the zombie vampire. Like it just has so many good ways to just play the game. game, and Dragon is so versatile, and it's fishbowl hands. And I've talked about fishbowl before. It essentially just means that there's no linear play with the deck. It's just all kind of like whatever you draw as your hand, right? There's not like a bread and butter to go through. So that's what's really cool about Dragon, though, is it becomes a little bit more unpredictable with how much gas they could have, and like they just need a little bit to go so far, right? Like one Tracer, if they negate everything else and then go right into like a Chaotic Ruler, it's over. You can make pretty big boards with just Dark Monsters, let me tell you. They went down to 1 Hieratic Seal, though, so we won't see more of that as of now. I'm also siding Gozen Match. I think that it's really insane, especially against the Adventurer engine. They can't really do a whole lot because the token's in Earth. So, like, even in Prank Kid, right, they go, like, Roxy's and a Meow, and it's like, what else, you know? They can't really do a whole lot. So I think that's really important to mention here. Gozen Match is just so strong, especially when you already set up a board and they like dark ruler your board, they like try to deal with your board, what have you, and they have a Gozen Match to follow up. A lot of times they just can't really play the game, which I think is pretty crazy. So that's something that I would also consider playing if you are going to play this deck. Fluoneries, shout outs to Hanko for getting top 4 at the YCS with this list. The deck itself, you know, you have D-Shifter, and the problem with D-Shifter, and like even Harpy's Featherstorm, right, is the fact that it's only good in vacuums, and there's only so many decks that can actually run it, so it probably will never get hit. Unless it's like a really big problem in the meta. But as of right now, it really isn't. Like Fluoneries will get like 1 spot out of a top cut versus like the other decks like base right now getting like 3 or 4, right? Maybe more. So it's unfortunate, but they still run the 3 Book of Moon, 3 Advent. I would always just Imperm the Empen because you only play 1 now. So if they go to dodge it with either of these, they just lose their Empen and they don't get it back. And even with Book of Moon, right? Like they have to get Dreaming Town, then the Empen's just gone. So they could be on 2, but most people are on 1. And most of the time they use their Eglin before in that turn too, so they have nothing to research the Empen with. Especially if they're already using like the Advent. So I think that it's really nice to just go ahead and Imperm that Empen, and that's just a really surefire way to shut this deck down like pretty fast. But I still like the deck a lot because it was the deck that I called out being like one of the better decks, and everyone's like, nah, that deck's horrible. And I mean, like, it's pretty insane right now, right, with the amount of gas that this thing can gather up. So definitely an interesting deck, but it's still normal summon the deck, you know. But this is a list if you'd like to try it out. Live Twin, I've talked about this deck before. Ash, Veiler, Ogre, Gamma, Imperm, Droplet, Tactics. The amount of utility room this deck has is insane. This is one of the biggest Dark Horse decks in a format ever. Like, it can go to a tournament and win, or it can go to a tournament and go 0-6. Like, there's no in between. And to me, I really like a deck like this because it's all 1-card starters. If you want to play like Avarice, you can have the recyclability in this deck. You have the free send off the board non-targeting with the Trouble Sunny. You have so many hand traps to just stop your opponent and keep normal summoning for turn, right? I just think this deck is a big underdog and it has a lot of room to grow, and I think that it's going to go a very long way in the format. Pen Magician, shout out to Safe for going top 4 at a 3v3 event. He took this list in there. The only thing I really don't love in Pendulum Magician is Destrudo or Snow. Snow because you usually don't have enough cards to banish. Destrudo because we don't have LP anymore. The reason we were using Destrudo was to go LP combo. It's kind of nice now because you have more opportunity to do different plays with it, but at the same time I don't really feel like it's going to help you all too much. I do like that you can sideboard the Raw Spear mode. The sideboard is not his, by the way. I just kind of put it there as my own because I've been testing out this list a lot. He didn't post his side in the video, so I just kind of made my own there. But the deck itself, you know, it has so much versatility, and like Pendulum is so cool because they have so many different lines of play. And like even Time Pendulum Graph, that card is actually just bonkers with Pen Call. Being able to just go ahead, pop one, send one, it's so crazy. Big fan of that card for sure. The repost of the Brave Despia. I'm only playing the one branded in red. I feel like a lot of people have a problem with that, but I feel like playing the one's just fine. I'm just playing a ton of hand traps and normal summon Aliber, and it's something that I really do enjoy because this card is so crazy, like as the power 1 of, but seeing it early game just really does hurt, especially in multiples. It's cool because like you can dodge things like Imperm with it, but at the same time I'm not a huge fan of it, especially with more and more people starting to get back onto like Bell. It's kind of cool though if you're playing like comedy, which I also don't like, because you can like add comedy and fuse with other cards, and then you can summon out your Despia and then like prevent the targeting on it, right, with the comedy. But main decking the Super Poly 2 is gonna be a staple next format, but I still play it now in a deck like this just because there's so many opportunities to just like blow out a board, right? So I'm a big fan of that as well. Invoke Shaddoll Dogmatica. I feel like this deck has been kind of blown over a lot this format as well, but it's only really good at the beginning of a format when everyone's still trying to learn like what their combo deck does and you're just out here summoning Winda. And it really does go a long way when you're playing like a more easy deck versus someone who's playing like a brand new complicated combo deck where they have a lot more likelihood to mess up. And you see this a lot actually, which is not uncommon, where people are just like auto losing to things like this because they're still trying to learn what they're doing with their new deck for the format. So that's why like once the format's more figured out and people just know how to deal with Winda, right, and they already know how to deal with this deck, so it kind of falls off really hard toward the middle to the end of the format, and then at the beginning of a new one, this deck will be like best deck again, right? Not best deck, but it'll be up there. Brave PK. I play 40 card variant. I love playing 40 cards. I do not do anything above that. I'm trying to Scythe Lock my opponent and see my Brave Engine. That is all I'm trying to do. I think playing anything over this is just really unnecessary because like you don't really need to add all those extra extenders or like gas. Like the deck itself can break, but at the same time, like there's so many hands that are just optimal, and even the ones that are suboptimal, you can still Scythe Lock. And I think that's really important to note. I only play double Fogblade. I played like the Monster Born as well. I think that card's insane. I've had a lot of times where like my DP will get like stolen and like linked off, and then I'll just Monster Reborn it back to the board. All these power 1-ofs that you just want to play, right? But I think that the deck has a lot of potential. I'm trying to like see my opening hand, Fusion Destiny, you know, and that's why I don't like playing anything over 40. And you're just playing like more and more cards to compensate when like the 40 just it does the same thing, right? But I prefer it that way. Brave Striker, this is going to be my going first list. I cut souls and I put the Brave Engine down to 2 and 2. And I also main deck there can be only 1. I think a deck like this is really strong because there can be only 1. As long as you realize that you need an out to the Draco back, you're perfectly fine and you can answer a lot of the boards right now because Tikaboo is literally the craziest card this format. If you're versing Plunder or Sword Soul, they auto lose, and that goes the same with quite a few decks right now. So if you have the answer for like the 1-of Baccarat or like the Draco back, a lot of times they can't play the game. So that's something to really think about too, because like when your board already is DP shiz and then you flip this, it's a really rough time for your opponent. But what am I bringing to the PPG next weekend? That answer is go second. So I decided I'm going to be main decking triple Dark Ruler and triple Ggygo. I think this is really underrated right now, and it's really insane. Every deck right now is monster heavy, and we barely see any back row decks at the moment. And I'm also playing like the Ash, Ogre, Imperm. There's so many opportunities to go second with a ton of utility cards. I'm probably cutting Nibiru from my side and putting Bell in there, or I'm just going to be maining Bell. I haven't really decided. There's a couple more tweaks I need to make. But the deck itself has been working phenomenal. I really have been testing this non-stop. And I'm just really excited to see really what it'll do for me at the next event. This is actually just one of the best lists that I've seen in a little while now, because if you think about it too, like I was saying earlier about like Herald and Droplet, I just really feel like Dark Ruler just answers literally everything right now, and like Ggygo threatens so many boards. And even if you just see Ggygo plus like Chalice, right, it's the same thing as Wrong Burner Chalice against the Sword Soul board, and their Chi Chao and their Baron are just dead, and then their back row just isn't live because Blackout can't resolve, right? So the other thing too is you have to be siding Token Collector. That's just like a mandatory 3-of in the side. It's just too good to not be siding this card right now. It's an automatic blowout against Sword Soul. Again, no Droplet, no Circle. It's pretty rough for them. But I do hope that you enjoyed the video today. It was a bit of a long one just to go over all of the decks. But if there is a different deck that you'd like to see in a future video like this, definitely let me know down in the comments below. I wanted to give you a spot that you can come and actually just see all the deck lists in one spot, so you actually can just come here and download them real fast and be able to test them out in your own time. If you do want a coaching session on Metafy, you can go ahead and find me on Metafy in the description below, and then you can go ahead and see any of the one-on-one sessions. If you'd like to make a custom session, definitely let me know, and we can go ahead and tailor that to you. If you want to go ahead and follow my Twitter, my Twitch, and go ahead and join my Discord as well. There's tons of people in there all the time playtesting, and you can go ahead and be a part of the family. So again, all the links to everything is in the description below. I really do hope that you enjoyed the mat. If you're going to buy one, definitely let me know down in the comments below. And if you see me at an event, let me come and sign it. I would love that. So I hope that everyone has a wonderful night. I'll catch you all in the next video. Thank you.